It's alright.
Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Max on Borderlands 3 video, and today we have something that we've never done on the channel before. Today we are doing a support build. Now, with the raid boss coming out in just a few weeks, the hardest content we've ever had in Borderlands 3, I wanted to focus on making some team-oriented builds because I love team-oriented things in a game like this, and there hasn't really been much need for team-oriented support builds in Borderlands 3, but I think now is the time. Now, the biggest criticism that I got while working on this build was, Moxie, why would you make a support build? All the characters can heal just fine. They all do so much damage. You don't need a support build. You can just have 4 damage dealers for like a team of 4 and you're good to go. However, we tested this build against like all the bosses in the game, not every single one, but like a lot of them. And in every single instance that I was playing this build versus me playing with the same people using the same builds, and I was using a consecutive hits fadeaway Monarch build on Flak, just like real good damage, I was able to cut down the time that it took to kill these bosses by half. Every single time using this. That is because when you use this build properly, you are going to get 580% damage increase against whatever enemy you're fighting. 580% damage increase from all sources, your entire team. It is crazy the melts that you can do with this setup, and I think it's honestly going to be a huge part of this raid. It's got so much utility for your team, so much aggro relief, so much healing. You're unkillable, and you ruin everything else around you for your team by just debuffing the literal crap out of it. It's good against mobs, good against targets, and we're going to start off the video by showcasing a little like side-by-side comparison of with this build, me playing it, and without it, using a damage dealing flak build, just to show you guys, and then we'll get into the setup and everything you guys need to know about this build. If you guys do enjoy the video, these videos take a lot of work, so if you do enjoy it or you learn something new, be sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe. I really do appreciate it, guys. And with that, guys, let's get right into the video. 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa, this is gonna be a good test. This is gonna be a really good test. And that's timer. That's part 1. 2, 1. All right, guys, now that you have seen the build in action, here is the skill tree showing on screen. Now we're gonna go in depth with why I picked the skills that I did and the gear that I am using. But before we do that, it's super important that if you guys are playing a support role for your team, you are also getting the best support possible. And that is why this video is sponsored by Mavix. Now, I have been sitting in a Mavix gaming chair for over a week now, and let me tell you, this thing is like the Zane's purple tree of gaming chairs. It is so highly functional, every bit of it works, and it's simply better than all the other options I've tried. I sat in a bar stool for 3 months, and my lower back pain while streaming was crazy. Now with this thing, it's got great lumbar support. I can sit and game for longer. If I want to lock up the chair in an upright position while I'm defending my comment section against trolls, I can do that. If I want to sit back and think about how much better Borderlands would be if the Crossroads had a 4th pellet, I can do that. The chair has helped me do my job more and has been super comfortable. It's got great fabric, great lumbar support, and everything about it is adjustable. And I'm super happy that Mavix sponsored this video because they are giving me a chair to give away to you guys. So make sure you're subscribed because we're going to be doing a giveaway in a few days. And if you check out their website and buy a chair, you can use code MoxieMavix at checkout to get a free footrest. Thank you, Mavix, for sponsoring this video. big shout out to Mavix for sponsoring the video once again. And now let's talk about the gear and the skill tree for this build. Now, there's a ton of things you could have done with a support flak. Realistically, you could have gone Red Fang with Gamma Burst and had the Gamma Burst up with team healing. I tried that. It wasn't good enough. This was the best thing that I found, because out of all the ways to heal your teammates on heal your team as flak, for burst aid versus rage and recover with all my BFFs, the number one thing that was the fastest healing was the thermal hot spring. It is really hard to compare or compete with the thermal hot spring, and Flak has a way of distributing it all over the place, and that is the Peregrine. Peregrine, when combined with Rex, is going to allow us to spam out hot springs, which are healing for the teams. Now, depending on who you're playing with or what your friends are playing, if you're playing with one person, if it's like a Moze, they don't have great lifesteal, or you're playing with a Mara who's got a ton of tankiness, you can switch this out. And the two options here are an It's Piss for 20% damage increase, which is just really nice to have, or a thermal hot spring. Kind of depends on what you and your team need. Both of these are really good for all the boss kills. I was using the It's Piss because we didn't need healing, we're just using DPS. But hot springs will litter the area all over the place and give you like 8k healing per tick, which is insane, because we really don't have that much health, and that combined with healing from the rack attacks is just really, really good. That'll keep you alive plenty and your team alive. And when we're using the Peregrine, we're not going to have to worry about dying, because we're using a stopgap with action skill start. Now, this is the classic rack attack combo. This basically makes you unkillable, and we're going to be pairing that with rack attack annoyance. Now, this is where we get into a little bit of weird territory, and I would just like to explain this. So a lot of the weapons that I'm using have extra rack attack. Extra rack attack is really nice, one, because it's going to allow you to spam out more grenades for more heals, more debuffs. It's going to allow you to keep up your stopgap more often, but it's not as good as rack slag. However, for the time being, you guys should be prioritizing extra charge of rack attack, because at the moment of making this video, this debuff, enemies damaged by rack attack take 100% increased damage for a short time. Does not work. This anointment does not work. I don't know how long it hasn't worked, but I've confirmed it with many people across PC, Xbox, PlayStation 4. No longer works. This debuff no longer works. And all of these clips were using this anointment, meaning that when Gearbox fixes this, which I'm really hoping they do fix this before the raid comes out, and I have messaged them about this, they're aware of it. I'm hoping this gets fixed. You're gonna get that 580%. Right now, it's only 480% debuff, which is still insane and still very powerful, and you're still going to out damage with this build in 3 DPS versus 4 damage characters. But yeah, rack attack slag is what this anoint is kind of abbreviated as, does not work. However, when it does, and I'm hoping it does, and as the reason I left it in this video, it's going to be even more crazy. Your melts are going to be cutting down on even more than half time. But the way that this build works is you're going to be spamming out stopgap, ASCs, you're spamming out grenades with your Peregrine. Your Peregrine is applying those grenades and just keeping you up in general, because we're going to be rocking the healing and the flock and load for extra Rex, which is really, really good stuff. And we're also using a King Arthur's Holy Grail. Now, this is probably got to be one of the only builds on YouTube to use a King Arthur's Holy Grail. This thing is really good. It's going to give us plus 30% max health and regenerate 3% of our health per second. And when we res an ally, we're going to get 50% weapon damage, 33% movement speed, and 10% health regen per second for 60 seconds, which is 60 seconds is a long time. And this doesn't have a cooldown. If you res someone again, you're going to get this. Now, like kind of a strategy, I don't know if this could be real. A strategy is like, if your teammates go down before the fight, like if you down yourself before fighting Hemovorus, you're all gonna get 50% weapon damage for 60 seconds on entering the fight with 33% movement speed, which could lead to some really fast kills if that's something you're looking forward to. Just squeezing out even more damage on your damage dealers before getting all of your debuffs in Now, in terms of debuffs, let's talk about them, and then we'll do the skill trees. We're using the Zetsiv's Eruption. Now, the Zetsiv's Eruption, if I'm not mistaken, when you reload it, it sends out pellets, and those pellets can fly anywhere, but when they hit enemies, they debuff them, and if you hit an enemy with all of your pellets, you're going to get a 210% debuff on them. Now, you can cancel this reload by meleeing, and as long as you're canceling it, every time you cancel it, it'll send out more pellets as long as you have enemies nearby them. But you can cancel it with rack attacks, so you can spam out your rack attacks while canceling it, so you don't have to melee. And you can also, if you're on PC, you can also emote cancel to just spam these things like crazy. You'll literally coat an entire battlefield in debuffs, which is insane. So that's one way to do it. You can't do this on console, that crazy spam, but you don't need it. The other thing that we're using, and for the boss, this is what your rotation is going to be. So your rotation would be to debuff with this weapon, throw in a rack attack, let the debuff hit again, and then you're swapping to your execute. Now, the execute is a more powerful tool than the Zetsiv's Eruption. The Zetsiv's Eruption debuff doesn't last as long as it doesn't go as high, so the execute is going to be your main debuff, but it's a lot easier to debuff with the Zetsivs than it is the execute. The execute, you need to empty the full magazine and then throw the Tediore at whatever enemy, Hemovorus, you're trying to kill. Now, this is going to give that enemy a 50% damage increase, or they're going to take damage from all sources, increased by 50% for 12 seconds, and you can throw 5 of these for a total of 250% damage increase. So this is 250. The Zetsiv's is 210, plus Rack Slag when it works would be 100, and with its piss you're getting an extra 20%. That's enough to shred anything. And if you've got some good damage dealers, you're gonna have no problem basically killing everything, which is why I'm so excited about this. And it would be tough to survive using the execute and not killing anything and just throwing this out if we weren't using ASE racks with the stopgap, so that we don't have to worry about our survivability. And I'm using extra racks on this one. If rack slag gets fixed, I'll try to get one with rack slag and not extra rack attack, but for now I'm using that with extra rack attack so I can throw as many of these as I can and stay alive and not have to worry about dying, because I could just spam these out and help my team. You've got a res for healing your allies if they go down. You've got a King Arthur's Holy Grail for res bonuses and max health regen. You've got a stopgap so that you never go down, or you've got that immunity. This is going to stop you from getting just absolutely demolished in there. And you've got hot springs to spam all over the place to heal you, your team, sorry, like voice thing, and its pisses just to if you need debuffs and you don't need the heals. It is crazy. Now, real quick for the skill tree, there's not too much to talk about here, but I will go over some stuff briefly. We didn't need Persistent Hunter. We're using rack attacks. We don't need action skill duration, and the gun damage is super minimum. We're using Barbaric Yop with our pet bonuses for 200% increased pet bonuses with Spider Ant Countess. This is going to give us extra health regen and damage reduction. Just super, super nice to have. It's weird speccing all this way into Green Tree. You may think that's pretty stupid, because I thought that was originally pretty stupid until I couldn't make anything better. And that is because, one, Galactic Shadow is aggro relief without really having to do anything. This skill was buffed a while ago and is super potent with 4 players. But we're getting Galactic Shadow, we're getting Grim Harvest for action skill damage, pet damage, gun damage, mainly for our racks. Our racks will actually hit pretty decently hard. But this Megavore is going to help us with keeping up our cooldowns, because we've got head count. It's going to help us with dominance, because this is going to critical hit for us. We don't have to worry about too much with dominance, because dominance is super powerful here. And dominance is the whole main reason we came all the way down in this tree, is because it is a huge aggro relief, and Turning an ally for the short time. If the enemy is a beast, the duration is doubled. In a Varkid arena with a 24-second basically dominance duration with target loss 2% of their max health per second, you're going to be able to basically just nullify any of the crazy badass ultimate badass Varkids that are going to be in the arena, give you and your team huge aggro relief. You're going to be doing damage to whatever enemy it is, and you're going to have no problem proccing dominance on literally all the enemies that you need when the first dominance wears off with Megavore. That plus Galactic Shadow and just some nice hunt skill effects and durations, as well as head count, Hunter's Eyes, damage reduction against beasts. It just made sense to come all this way down, and we needed our rack attack augments. Rage and Recover wasn't going to work for me, and we don't really care about doing damage. All my BFFs is ally shares 50% of flex health regen. We've got a decent amount of health regen. This is going to give all of your allies a small little passive health regen. It's not much, and this alone isn't going to keep them up if they're just relying on your passive health regen, but it is nice to have. Lick the Wounds, you want your pet to be able to revive you, and we've got a bunch of pet healing things, such as like Who Rescued Who, Hive Mind, Shared Spirit, Pack Tactics, and some others to make sure that you and your pet are sharing damage and you're keeping your pet nice and healthy. This build, in Guardian Takedown, on True Takedown, you can just walk around and nothing is going to kill you, nothing is going to attack you, and you can just spam debuffs all over the place. It works really, really well. And I know it's a little niche, and I know it's a little different than what we usually focus on, because usually we just focus on damage, but this is kind of a different kind of damage, because it's debuff damage, and you will actually help your team do more damage in the long run. I know this was super different for the channel, but I really, really like it. And coming up next for this like series, we have a combo, which is a broken combo that you can do between Amara and Mose that I'm really excited to share with you guys. So if you did like this video and you want to see more of these like support focused builds, please let me know. Your feedback helps a lot. Guys, I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Peace.